So the Maila of Teirasa Sherashbi, of the Teirasa of other Tanoim Ameroim, is the Maila of Pnimius HaTorah, which Pnimius HaTorah unlocks the source of the Neshama. The source of the Neshama, Mushresh, rooted in Atzmos. Hence, Atzmos, the Eibishter being the source equally of both Milamayla Lamata and Milamata Lamayla. Bli Gvul and Gvul, Eir and Keli, in the broader sense. Bracha and Tefillah. Bracha being Milamayla Lamata and Tefillah Milamata Lamayla. Each one having its Maila. So since the Neshama is rooted in Atzmos, therefore his Torah, uniquely, unlike all other Torah of the other Tanoim and Amoraim, not expressive of Pnimius HaTorah, has the Maila of both Zichur Chamata, Hala Milamata, the refinement of the Mata, the ascent of the Mata, and Amshocha Milamayla Haydin Ishtalshalos, which is what Tefillah on its own achieves. And he explained that this is why he said his Torah on the Inyan of Geshem, because Geshem has both these milas. The Inyan of Geshem starts Malamata Lamaila, the vapor rises, then condenses and comes back as rain Malamaila Lamata. Now he's explaining that's also the connection to the Pasuk in which he said the Torah and brought down the Geshem. The Pasuk is in Matei of Manoim Shevasachim Gam Yochad. So for two reasons. First of all, because it's Shaykh to Yedidus Akshamim, as we explained earlier, because he talks about Kutshabrichel Knesses Yisrael, which is Shamayim Va'aretz, and the rain coming down from Shamayim to Aretz is Dam Shocha, and the unity of Shemayim Va'aretz, Kutshabrichel Knesses Yisrael. And even though he doesn't talk about rain explicitly, so this is explained in the Maimorim, that's the reference. So hence he talks about Geshem. And as we just said, is because the Geshem is Arusa de Latata, and the Torah is Amshachim Elamayla. And we just said that's how is this possible in a Torah? You have both in Torah, you have both the mile of the Mata, that's Mitzad Neshamas Yisrael. Therefore, he says the pasuk on this pasuk, which talks about Neshamas Yisrael, Sheves Achim Gam Yochad, which talks about the Yichud of Neshamas Yisrael and Yidden. And that's why he speaks about Avos Yisrael in that drush. That the Chachamim, initially, they're at war with each other, and one wants to, the words he uses, kill the other one. In the end, they are with love and unity. And the Eibishter says, and I'm part of them, says the Zohar, direct translation. So this is the Av and Achtus of Yisrael that reveals the Av and Achtus of the Eibishter and Yidden. As a result of the Chachamim and their incredible unity that comes dafken because of their differences of opinion, passionately so, and in that, and dafka through that is the deepest Av and Achdas Yisrael, that is pearl that the Eibishter becomes part of them. And that's the Hemshech HaPosach of Kishem and HaToiv. So that's how he teaches the pasuk later, the several pirushim, that the Sheves Achim and the Chachamim and the Gam Yochad is the Eibishter who joins them and becomes one with them through their Ava and Achva. Is that clear? And that is explained as we started learning yesterday already, the end of the pasuk. So we'll start again. Eis Ches. Like the good oil, Shemen the Chachma, that's Torah Stam. Shemen HaToiv, the good oil is Pnimius HaToiv. Sure, it was already explained at the opening words of the pasuk, the whole connection here, because the Rabbi is pale, this Inyan, as opposed to the other Tanoim and Amaroim, davka because of Pnimius HaTorah, which unlocks the Pnimius HaNeshama. Moreover, the Yashta Kasha Zeh Mashakos B'Farash HaZoyar, and the explanation we're giving here is connected to what the Mefarshim on the Zoyar say. And they say, we saying Shem and HaTorah is what? Pnimius HaTorah. What they say is, and it's the same Inyan, Shem and HaTorah Ha'oras Yisod the Atik. Exactly what we're saying. Atik is the Pnimius HaKes, the Pnimius HaBalikus. Galya the Torah Shaykh LaArich. Galya is Arich. And Pnimius HaTorah is Atik. Like we all know that Arich is the Ratzon. So Galya expresses the Ratzon Hashem. What you do, what you don't do, that's Nigla. Pnimius HaTorah expresses his Tainuk in it, his essential presence that is summoned and connected to as a result of Torah and Mitzvahs. Hence, Galya is Arich and Pnimius HaTorah is Atik. Pnimius HaKesef. So now revisiting the pasuk in all of its details now. The two dargis of Sheves Achim and then Gam Yochad is explained on all of its levels. The pasuk then continues Kishem and Atoiv, like the good oil. The pasuk is saying how we achieve this, that the Eibishter becomes one with us. And Yidden one with each other before that, the Av and Achva, between one Jew and another. In order this all to happen, they limit Pnimius HaTorah. It only happens in Pnimius HaTorah. On the level of Nigla Torah alone, on the contrary, that engenders division, different opinions, and on a more crass level, he wants to be the Godel, and he wants to be the Godel, so they only honor each other because it's reciprocal. I honor you, so you honor me. That's not Avos Yisrael. But in Pnimius HaTorah, sooner or later, if it didn't happen, he didn't learn enough. If he's learning Pnimius HaTorah and still, I'm trying to remember the words Moishe Polter said to me. Will come to me. Miserable was one of the words. I mean, miserable arrogance. So we didn't learn enough. Enough chassidus has to soften something. Epis, the yeshus and gaiva. So it's a limit HaTorah, Pnimius HaTorah, or mamshe because of the pasuk continues. That's where we're up to now. This is the end of his life when he was unfiltered. He was facing mamash the last days. No, it was full of Avos Yisrael, but there was absolutely no filter. For those that merited it. Happened to be in Detroit at the time. Mamshe because of Yirid al Azok and Zakan Arin Shirid al Pimidoisa. So the oil flows down. The oil is Pnimius HaTorah. Shem and Atoiv. And where is it flowing down? It's flowing down on his beard, which is described as a Zokim, which means elder. And then al Pimidoisa over his garment, which is midah, measured, tailored. Garments are tailored. So there's two descents, to the Zokin and to the beard. Shem Shteyed, the Zokin, Havana Vasagas, Zokin, go refers to understanding. As the Mishnah said, the Gemara says, who is a Zokin, Shekon the Chachma, acquires Chachma. So his learning is permeated with his bitla, with the Pnimius HaTorah, in other words. Not only is his learning permeated with Pnimius HaTorah, Midoisav, his clothing, his garments. What are the garments? Hem Levusha Mitzvahs. They're the garments of mitzvahs. So Torah is called lechem, right? It explains in Tanya, and mitzvahs are garments. You're into mitzvahs. Mitzvahs are not into you. But Torah is into you. You understand it. You take it within. You assimilate it within. So mitzvahs are levushim. So the point is that the Shem and HaTorah is permeating his learning, his seichel, and his mitzvahs, midas. Mitzvahs are sort of associated with midas, quite literally, as he explains in Tanya, that Ava is the source of mitzvah saseh, and Yid is the source of mitzvah leisaseh. So that too, but he's stressing here the portion of the mitzvahs b'poyo. Shalimud, the pnimis ha'torah tzarich lachter, the learning of Chassidus has to permeate durch them in Yiddish. Kol ha'koiches shaloi, all of his conscious faculties. Hein avon vasoga, that's the zokin, vehin ha'mais b'poyo, that's midoisav. So that's what the pasuk is telling us. That's how it all begins. We'll learn Chassidus and learn the b'pnimius. It should affect your seichel, and it should affect your mitzvahs, and then so the end of the pasuk is giving us the means by which to achieve the first part of the pasuk. Nasa sheves achim gam yochad, a real avos Yisrael. Shehavos Yisrael hi ba'ofen the sheves achim. First of all, obviously for two levels is the sheves achim. He said that's iskashrus, that's bonding with another Jew, connecting. The parallel in marriage is dugmas kishuri tnoyim et tnoyim. Not only are we connected in the previous dik sincere way, but we say the mizobay from the gam yochad. We are really one. That's yichud and nisuyin. That's reflecting of nisuyin, of becoming one. Mamish. Your simcha is my simcha. Your pain is my pain. That's the measure. And of the two of them, mind you, the measure is the simcha. When someone else has pain, that's easier to identify with than somebody's simcha. For the obvious reason. He has a simcha, means he's got something something good. There's the element of envy and other things. And to celebrate in somebody's simcha, that's a greater connection than to feel the pain, which is also a level. As my friend Jossi Kest, I don't know if he was quoting somebody, but in brutal honesty, he said that Yiddish rings better. That when someone has suffering something, it's terrible. When you have a simcha, it's impossible to bear. It's a gornish vertragen. He's saying what I'm saying, because the simcha is already, That's the measure of avos Yisrael. And that is the sheves achim and then the gam yochad, which is all affected through the shemen hatoiv, limit pnimius hatoira in the pnimius. And then the second pirush, or the third pirush, third because it's marriage, it's yidden and eibishten yidden. By deze kodesh brichu otzes the milayo. The Zohar says, and through this, the Eibishter listens to their words, the words of the Chachamim, which means he participates with them. That's another, the Gam Yochad. The Nasim Kelim L'Kabbalah Ashpa. We become thereby, that always ends with the Baruch, Kelim for the Ashpa, Me'er in Sof, She'en Ba'akbolis, the true infinite that has no limits. Gam Lo Yakbol, the Chachmas HaTorah, not even the limit of Chachmas HaTorah, which we said earlier. That is how the Chachamim Tanoim would defend the Yidden. This is even higher than that. It's not even a defense. As a Yidden, Gemarnos, no discussion. There's no discussion of virtue because it's who you are, and this is what Pnimis HaTorah reveals, and that Eibishter, that's irresistible. Shakadosh Baruch Hu Atzmei Mashpil L'Kol Echad V'Echad Miso, the Eibishter himself, implication here being directly, not filtered through Bezdin Shamayla or even a higher argument, Chachma Satorah, but Eibishter himself is Mashpila Kol Echad V'Echad Misrael Rav Tuv. Great good, but Nira V'Anigle in a revealed, an apparent and revealed way. Bebonde Nachas from children and Chaya, health and Bezoine and Panosa, the Vich and abundance. Okay, we kind of gave a summary to the mind at the beginning of the Shir today, so I'm not going to do it again now. But we will just, as we customarily do, read the outline, the Teichon and Yonim. So just all kind of thread it together. And there he writes, So the three pirushim is Sheves Achim Gam Yochad. Obviously, the pasuk is saying that there's iskashus and then is achtus. What are the three pirushim? Chas and kala, pirush 1. Eibishter Kutchebrichon Knesset Yisrael, pirush 2. And even amongst each other, which he just now summarized in the conclusion and explained, all three pirushim are connected. That's what the Maimer culminates in explaining. Explaining the pull of the Rashbi in bringing rain through saying Torah is, in addition to that Torah, like Bracha, compare la hamshacha, but that's a big chiddush here. That even other Tanaim Amaroim did. But here is the mile of Tefillah Vedes Amata, where there's a radical change on the ground and not a defense for it. And that is affected through Pnimiyas HaTorah, Torah of the Rashbi. That's Mamshech, Ratzon Chodesh, which is high even in Chachmaseh, Chachma the Torah, analogous to Tefillah, like Tefillah, which is here Ratzon Chodesh, because then even on the level of Chachmas HaTorah, the world wasn't shaykh to get mutter. No defense. But he's pilot through his Torah, because his Torah is the mile of Tefillah. Why? Because the thing in the Pnimiyas HaTorah, the Pnimiyas HaTorah reveals that the Sheves Achim and Gam Yochad between Yidden and the Eibishter, which starts as a result of Yidden amongst each other, that happens to the Shem and HaTorah, through the limit of Pnimiyas HaTorah. And as we said before, now summary this morning, and therefore Rashbi's Torah had both milas of Melamayla Lamata and Melamata Lamayla, rooted in Atzmos, and that is reflected in the Yid, which we addressed as we learned the Maimer and summarized this morning. And I say again, there's a Mugadik Maimer. It's not long, and I really suggest that we learn it by heart. Everybody learns it by heart. And the theme is obviously still very powerful, important themes. It'll be a nice thing if we could write into the Rebbe in a week or two from now. You could send a report with your names that plainly learned this Maimer by heart. Not word for word, but just the flow, but the Teichen Einyon. Huh? What do you think, guys? The idea is good. I'm sure everybody's asking. It's a good idea. I know that. Okay, let the seed plant.